group reading instruction. Say you have 15 minutes or 20 or maybe 25 minutes with 4 or 5 kids, and you really want to squeeze every second out of it instructionally. And then they leave you and they head off to centers, and you wonder, did you really meet their needs? Did you squeeze in as much as you could? Did Jose catch that point? Did Cheryl even practice? If you ever worry about whether you're really squeezing all the instructional juice out of every minute of small group reading instruction, then you're in the right place, because we're in the middle of a summer series called Shortcuts for Small Group Reading Instruction. And tonight we're going to be in session 2 of this series, talking about how to save time with your word work, especially read it and sort it. Two core activities here at Reading Simplified. And by the way, I'm Dr. Marty Ginsburg of Reading Simplified, and it's our mission here to serve grandparents, parents, teachers in a mission of streamlining reading instruction and accelerating reading achievement for all learners. So welcome. I'm glad you're here. Please say hello and let me know where you're from, who you teach or what you teach. We're going to be talking tonight about shortcuts for reading instruction. So I'm so glad you've joined us. And I'm so pleased that you're joining us that I'm going to be offering some freebies. So in fact, tonight we have several freebies that may be new to you. Definitely new. One is new to everyone, and a couple may be things that are new to only some. And not only that, but we also have a freebie that's actually a gift to one lucky person. So if you are going to win the contest that we're having in this summer series, you might win this collection of Read It word cards. I'm really excited to offer it to you, and this will play a part of our talk tonight about Read It. So across the 4 weeks of this summer session, every Tuesday at 8 p.m., if you tag a friend, you will be entered to win this collection of Read It cards. And they are designed to be organized by short vowels and level of phonemic difficulty. And so they're perfect for differentiation. And they also are high frequency words, so you're getting 2 for 1. And even if you're not a winner tonight, you're still going to get a freebie, a sample of these cards, and I'm excited to share those with you. So welcome. If you are just popping in, we're going to be talking tonight about shortcuts for reading instruction, particularly for word work with the activities Read It and Sort It. And this is prime stuff for maximizing your small group reading instructional time. So let's see who is here. I'm so glad to welcome Barbara back, and Kia, welcome. Robbie, welcome back. Sharon, Marge, Char, Robbie from BC, Canada, yep. And Jennifer and Jill, and Jennifer back from Arizona, and welcome Joanne, yep. And Marge is in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Awesome. So if you're just popping in, tonight we're going to be talking about shortcuts for small group reading instruction. This is a prize right here. If you tag a friend, you'll be entered to win this prize. But this is right here is our topic for tonight. This is session 2 in this summer series, how to maximize instructional time for small group reading instruction. So I'm welcoming you to say where you're from, who you teach, and we're going to be talking about Read It and Sort It and how to save time with those activities. So if you are new to Reading Simplified, you'll get a peek at these 2 core activities that really accelerate reading achievement. And if you're an old fan of Reading Simplified, then we'll be sharing some things that you may not have heard before about how to optimize time in that small group setting, because it is so precious. I don't know if you have heard this before, but several different research studies have pointed out that on average in many classrooms, children are only reading about 1 minute a day. in special ed classrooms, in general ed classrooms, in elementaries across the country. So what we do in that small group reading instructional time is super important, because that's the one chance we can really grab them and really make sure that they're reading, right? So we want to maximize that time, because if they don't read, they're not going to get good at it, obviously, right? So let's move quickly into our tips for Read It and Sort It. And if you're just popping in, stay tuned for some freebies and tag a friend so that you can be entered to win this Read It word card collection that I'm excited to share with you tonight. And you'll see an example of it in the videos. Okay, so let's first talk about shortcuts for Read It. Now, Read It in and of itself is a bit of a shortcut, just doing it, because it, first of all, it helps kids with blending. If students aren't good at blending, which is really the first step in being a good decoder, then Read It is pretty much a cure-all. I haven't found a kid yet who can't figure out how to blend with the strategy that we teach in the Read It activity. We call it blend as you read. And I know many of you out there have found it to be really significant. I have seen teachers say that it was even life-changing. So if you have experience with the blend as you read technique in the Read It activity, please share that with your colleagues here from all over the world so they can see the benefit of it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with Read It, I'm not going to go into too much about it tonight, but I will give you access to a blog post that has videos and freebies on how to do it, and also how to give some feedback and some word lists too. So if you head over there to readandsimplified.com/one and done nearly, you can learn about Read It. So we're about to jump into share some tips about Read It. Before we do, would you like to see it in a video? How does that sound? So we're going to see a video, and the thing I want to think about while you're watching the video is to share your tips. Maybe you use Read It, maybe you use something different, but what are some of your tips that you use in small groups? I would love to have you share that with your colleagues, like I said, all over the world. Okay, so let's show an example of Read It in the context of a group and see different time-saving strategies that you notice. And then we'll talk about specifics afterwards, okay? So let's jump into the video and hope it works. So this time, before you start writing, we're going to read. I've got some cards for you to draw, okay? Well, to draw a card means to select a card, to pick a card. Okay, are you ready? Cap your markers, put them off to the side, and we'll see who's ready to go first. You all look ready. Who wants to go first? Okay. Can you put it down so I can see it too? Good. What do you have there? Put the first two sounds together. Claw. And hold that ah. Claw.
Clock.
You got it. Clock. Okay, everybody say the sounds as they write it. Yeah, let's write it. K. K. You can do it too. K. O. A. K. Now let's look at the K. This is the two-letter K. Do you remember how do we do the erase game?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, ready? K. Start at the beginning. There you go. There you. Nicely done. Okay, I've got a hand in the air. Don't help him. Let me help him, okay? Can you put the word down? Oh, you're reading it backwards. That's going to be pretty tricky. Let's put those sounds together.
Spend.
Oh my goodness, that was so fast. Did you hear that? He said spend. I don't need to spend too much money, okay? Write the sounds and say it. And let's erase. Ready? Okay, next time when you have the word like this, I want you to make sure
that you erase from the beginning and say the sounds like this. Watch. S, p, eh. Okay, whose turn is it? We've done spend, we've done clock. Let's go for Miss Celia. You'll be next, but not last. Okay, ready? Put it down, okay? Put the sounds together. Oh, you nailed it. Brick. We need the bricks to build the building. Okay? Now say the sounds. Oh, but you know what? It doesn't count because you didn't say the sounds. Tricky, tricky teacher. Okay.
Oh, I saw that.
No, wait. Brick. Okay. Let's fix the buh. This is a buh. Oh. Okay. Put those two together.
Swim.
Oh, nicely done. Okay, swim. Everybody say the sounds. You've got the sounds in your head. You don't need to look at it. Don't look at your neighbor. Covers. Cover. May I see it again? You've got the sw, and then I'm not sure about the What's that last sound in swim? Okay. Now show me how you don't need that extra. Just swim. Okay, say the sounds and erase it. Okay. Okay. Nicely done. Okay.
It's in the same order.
Oh man, I tried to trick you. Oh, listen to her. Put it together.
Strong.
You are strong. You are strong readers. I need to hear it. Very good. Okay. Nice job.
What did you think of Read It? If it's new to you, what did you think was useful about it? I would love to hear from you. We've got some folks here who've been doing Read It for months, and some of you may have never encountered it before. Hopefully you saw some tidbits there that you can take with you and make your small group reading instruction better. I'm going to get into the tips for how to maximize the time using that activity. But I also want to just point out real quick, because it's such a big change agent for early readers or struggling readers, that the blend as you read decoding strategy is what turns so many kids into readers. And this is all it is. So if the word is test, you ask the student not to go to and then try to read the word, but you ask them to put the sounds together as they go. That's the blend as you read. So they would put T-E together like this. And they would hold the vowel. Test, test. They can do the first two, then the rest of the word becomes progressively easier. It's a very simple, subtle change, but it is a huge factor in getting kids to quickly get into the code. So I'd love to know if you've tried that and if you've seen it successful, or if you haven't tried it, you think maybe you will give it a try. And let's see, we've got some comments already. Thank you for sharing your word work tips. Melody says that she loves playing this Read It game and really like to challenge her students to spell it on the boards afterwards without looking at the word. Hey, you're ahead of me, Melody. That's one of our tips today. She also added writing words in sentences later on in the year. Super. That's what we call Write It. So great usage of the activity, Melody. Thanks for sharing. And anyone else who has a tip on how to make their word work effective and super efficient, share with us today. And if you're just tuning in, we're doing shortcuts for small group reading instruction. We're in a series, in tonight's session 2 of a 4-week series, and tonight we're talking about word work. So Read It was the first activity we showed, and if you want Read It cards, I'm going to be giving away a sample. So let's see if I can find the link, and you can hold on to this and get these sample cards similar to what we use here for yourself. Now, this collection of cards is just a part of what we have in the Reading Simplified Academy. And I just wanted to let you know that all of this work that we bring to you, free training, free resources as part of Reading Simplified, is part of the Reading Simplified Academy, and that is a membership site where we, let's see, try again. That's a membership site where I teach the Reading Simplified approach and give resources and ongoing support. So I'm just going to let you know that that's what these cards that I'm offering you today, they're coming to you in as a result of the Reading Simplified Academy. So if you don't know about the Reading Simplified Academy, I welcome you to go to readingsimplified.com and learn more. There's a button that says Reading Simplified Academy in the middle. So this is the main course right here, Reading Simplified Academy, and then we have lots of other courses, usually 1 hour courses that are monthly workshops that we add as an ongoing way. So that's what these word cards are brought to you from tonight, the Reading Simplified Academy. So what are those tips that I'm promising you for Read It? Just the Read It alone, like I said, it's a big time saver, but there's some specifics that we can talk about tonight, and I'd love to not only share what I've discovered, but I'd love to hear from you. So keep the comments rolling with your suggestions, ladies and gents. Okay, shortcuts for Read It. Are you ready? Number 1, you might not like to hear this sometimes. We just don't seem like we have the time, but prep your words ahead of time carefully. And the reason that this is so important is not just so you don't lose the minute or two at the beginning of the 20 minutes if you have that much, but really the words you choose to give the kids to read should be tightly connected to their most pressing need. If this group is working on reviewing all short vowels, then give them 3 words that are the short vowels they're having the most trouble with. Or if this child is having trouble with short E, make sure that this child gets a short E word. Or if this child is able to do CVC words and he's ready to move on to CVCC, which are phonemically more challenging, then give that student a CVCC word like test. So plan your words ahead of time, at least your word list, the words you're going to choose, and you might write them on a dry erase board, or you can use these word cards like that freebie that I just dropped in there in the chat. Here it is. If you use those word cards, then you can differentiate even within your small group. So these 2 might get CVC words, and these 2 might get CVCC words. They might not even notice the difference, but they're going to get to their most pressing need instructionally, whether it's phonemic challenge or a particular short vowel or a particular consonant digraph. What do you think of that? Will that save you some time? Prep ahead of time and meet their needs. Relatedly, I suggested maybe giving different words out, just as I mentioned earlier, maybe by different levels of phonemic difficulty, CVC being the easiest and CVCC being the hardest, like this whopper word. That's a challenge, right? Maybe some children can handle that, and another child in that group just needs to be given a word like this. So if you have word cards like this, then it's easier to differentiate. Thank you for those hearts. Yes, so some of you agree this does sound like it could save some time, so that when those kids hit the table, they're really getting exactly what they need. Now, when you begin the year, or you're just starting with a new student or a new group of students, I suggest that you only give 1 word out at a time, which is what I did in that video. That was a video example of students that I didn't know. I'd only met the previous day. It was their 2nd session. So we're just working out the kinks, learning the activity, and also really pressing into that blend as you read decoding strategy. So if I can give 1 student 1 word and then have them do the blend as you read, I can give all my attention to have them coaching them exclusively, and then I pull away the word, and then everybody writes and says the word. So if it was loft, they would write l, ah, t. So they're at least getting some practice off their friend's word. Okay, so that's what can work, I think, initially at the beginning of the year, but then that will slow you down if you continue to do that all year long. So after the kids get the blend as you read decoding strategy, after they get the hang of the activity, then maybe you can hand out 1 card at a time and get them all reading a word, maybe 4 or 5 different words, or maybe you have, 2 words. Maybe you alternate one across the circle in front of you, so one kid doesn't get a word that their neighbor's getting, so maybe it's a little higher. And then, except for our littlest bitty readers, pull the word away. If they read hat, they've already read it. They've probably, because of previous work that we have done, probably if you're a Reading Simplified practitioner, the switch it activity, they can probably think about the word hat and think, what's the first sound in hat? Okay, it's ha. Now what's the symbol for ha? Ha. Then they can write it. So they get that write and say practice where they're doing the ha, ah, t. That is another level of challenge that keeps them from just looking at it and then just thinking in their brain H-A-T, which doesn't help with sound based decoding. It's not really connected because they're not tuning sound and symbol into each other. So those are my first groups of tips, and I'd love to know what you think, and also, do you have some tips along those lines? Maureen, thank you for popping back in. She says it sounds awesome. Super. Okay, ready for more tips? More read it tips? Here we go. Okay, watch carefully as they do the blend as you read decoding strategy. Early on, it's hard work. They're going to resist, especially if they're struggling and they have tried other things before. But if you want that to be probably the most important thing in your lessons in the first few weeks. So watch them like a hawk, especially if you're giving out several words, make sure that they're all doing it. What can happen early on, a kid can go, ha, ah, and get the word because it's only 3 sounds. But when they get to 4 sounds or 5 sounds or multisyllable sounds, that sound approach will break down. So catch that early, eradicate it, and move the blend as you read strategy into the equation. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about the blend as you read strategy, let me pop in that link again because there's more information here at this post about read it, because that's super important. I just always want to get that message out because people become readers with this simple little gimmick, really. It's so subtle, but it makes a big difference. Okay, so what are some of the more tips again? Pull that up again. We talked about this last week with switch it. I recommend that you switch your kids' seating. If they're always sitting maybe by your side, little Johnny might not be looking at the print and you might not be able to see his eyes. So if you move him over here right in front of you, then you can see his eyes. So move kids around. I didn't realize this till I watched myself actually in the video footage of this session that you just saw. The kiddos weren't in a they weren't in a kidney-shaped table, and the little girl beside me, I couldn't see her eyes very well, and I realized afterwards when I got to see the video footage that she was often looking in the wrong place and not on print. So if you move kids around, that can help that dynamic so that you're always staying alert. Are they looking at print? Are they doing the blend as you read strategy? Again, one word at a time. Later, then just do maybe everybody gets a word simultaneously and keep the lesson moving. Now, read it is super powerful, but you don't need to do it forever. So after they get to, as a group, about 70% accuracy with the blend as you read decoding strategy, then drop it and switch to sort it, which we'll talk about in a second. So you'll still be practicing the blend as you read strategy with sort it, and that's why it's important to not do that forever, not camp out with read it, because read it just involves the short vowels, and if we stay there for too long, kids will lose out on the opportunity to learn the vast amount of information they have to do to learn at the advanced phonics level. The other thing that can happen is they kind of get into a rut thinking one sound is always one letter is always one sound, and that does not help them. So pretty quickly move out of read it when you can. And Jennifer has a lot of experience with her, a lot of ELL kiddos with the blend as you read strategy. She says, blend as you read is golden. Thank you. Yes, I agree. All of the kids in her small group became readers for the very first time using the blend as you read after struggling all year with the sound by sound method. Oh, you're welcome, Jennifer. Yeah, so it's just so common to look at this. Okay, let's read the word. What's the word? That's the sound by sound approach. And how many of you have seen programs that tell us to do that? Well, it works with a lot of kids, doesn't it? But it doesn't work with everyone, like Jennifer was saying. And you never know who's going to work with and who it's not. So if you just go from the get-go with, well, let's put those first two sounds together. Track. Then you'll save yourself a heap of trouble. And it's important to, even with older kids, to catch them back up with that. Okay, so let's find, I think, a couple more shortcuts for read it, and then we will move on to sort it, which is what we should be dropping. Actually, that was it. Shortcut. As I said, after you can get to the 70th percentile in accuracy with blend as you read, don't keep doing read it. You can get more bang for your buck by moving into sort it. Okay? So how many of you have tried sort it? This is an activity where you ask the kids to read words with one particular sound, and they sort it by spelling. So the sound might be, we usually start out with the O sound. And kids would read the O in go and put it in a different column, or the O in home, or show, or Joe, or note. And that action of reading words by one sound, recognizing that they're all a couple different spellings, and sorting it and writing it and saying it is a powerful way of getting it organized in their brain and learned rapidly. So in general, just sort it itself is a huge time saver, and we're going to talk in a second about these specific tips for sorted. And if you are just popping in, make sure you put tag a friend to enter the contest to win these Read It cards. We're giving away this set across the 4 weeks of this summer series. And if you don't have the cards themselves, that's also a link that I dropped above. Let's watch Sort It and see how the kids are acquiring phonics knowledge, and see what shortcuts are already implicit within the activity, and then we'll talk more specifics when we get back after watching this little video footage. Okay, here we go. I'm going to pull up Sort It in a second.
It looks the same, but they're different words, okay? So,
Go home to show the boat to Joe.
wow, good work, you guys. Where does boat belong? Which column is the same spelling as O? Nope, check carefully. Check boat very carefully. Where's the same O as this? The same O as that? Let me look. Yes, you got it. Okay, so he found the right boat. Do you know, or the right spot for boat? Do you know where that O is? Nope, that's not it. Where's the same spelling for O? No? That's it. Okay, say the sounds as you do it. B, b, o.
It just shows you the word right there.
That makes it easier. Can I see yours? Bo. And can you cross it? Oh, you got a capital T. Okay, your turn. What sound are we working on? O. Own. Where does own belong? Where does own?
Right here.
Okay, say the sounds as you do it. Say own. Okay, your turn. Close. Two sounds. What are the two sounds? The first sound is hoe. Do you know what a hoe is? It's like a tool used in a garden. Let's see who can read the next word the fastest.
Grow.
Is that right?
Grow.
Is that right?
Grow. I said first.
Okay, you were fast. Grow. Where does grow go? Write it. Where does grow belong? Where does it go? Grow.
It's right here.
Okay, she's got it. You got it. You know, I'm just not hearing each sound separately. That's what we need to hear. Yeah. Okay, let's do one more word. Ready? Eyes on the print. Let's do this word.
Close.
You were the
Close.
fastest.
Close.
You got it. Where does close belong? Is it the separated O?
Oh, I know where it goes. I know where it goes. It goes.
Where's that spelling?
Right there.
So let's do close. Let me hear you say the sounds. K, O, O, Z, and this is the Z in that word. Can I see it? You got it? Can I see? Okay, you guys, let's point to the top. The O in what word?
No.
And the O in... The O in...
Show.
And the O in...
Like this pencil.
Yes, I think so. But now we're doing the last word. You do the last word for me. The O in... Joe. Okay. Go home to...
Show the boat to Joe.
Okay, let's turn the papers over. Do you have it? What's the key sentence?
Go to show the boat to Joe.
That'll
Go
work.
home to show the boat to Joe.
Woo! We got it.
So that was Sort It with first grade students who were not doing so well in reading up to this point, and they're needing to get the basics of decoding organized in their brain, and they need to learn advanced phonics. So that's an entry-level lesson for them of Sort It. So one time-saving tip that's just kind of baked into Sort It is the key sentence. For each major sound that we focus on, we teach a key sentence. It's like a mental mnemonic, so they can remember the key spellings of the target sound. Go home to show the boat to Joe is a key sentence for O, and so that's what they see on every paper that practices the O sound, and it's how the words were organized by those various spellings. So that is just a built-in time saver, getting the phonics to stick and getting the high frequency words to stick, because we would recommend you do Sort It with high frequency words too, like show. Okay, so what are some of the tips beyond that? If you're already a Sort It pro, what do you want? Maybe you want to hear some other tips that can help you save some more time. Again, as we did this for Read It, we really have to fixate, especially early on each kid to make sure they're doing the blend as you read, decoding a strategy. Sort It and Read It, they fit together so nicely. You're doing the same thing, you're just adding the difficulty of advanced phonics. So still make sure they're doing that blending technique that we talked about. And also, when they start to write, they can get pretty resistant to saying the sound. So try to listen carefully to each child, or maybe stagger your focus. For one word, it's this child, then the next word, it's this child, so that you are making sure that they're writing and saying the sounds. Because when they write sh, o, as they say those sounds, they're making strong linkages between sound and symbol, and that's what it takes to become a good reader. Just like we talked about with Read It, it may be beneficial to have one child read the word and then everyone write it and say it. And then as the year progresses, they can probably all be given more words. So everybody gets a word and they do it simultaneously. And one thing you can do is give out different Sort It sheets. As I mentioned, this training here tonight is brought to you by the Reading Simplified Academy, and in the Reading Simplified Academy, in this main course right here, we have sorted pages, multiple sorted pages. So for the O sound, you could give this child an O sound sorted page that had this set of words, and then this child could get a different sorted page for a different sorted list. And so you could stagger the pages around your table so that they are not listening to their neighbor. And of course, if you're not a member of our Reading Simplified Academy, then you can just make a word list and give each kid a different set of word lists targeting the high frequency sound and high frequency words. And okay, and then let's see what other tips we have for Sort It. Oh, this one is just kind of an ambitious goal that will potentially yield months of growth as compared to traditional instruction. So with Reading Simplified, we aim for most kids to learn a new list or a new target sound each week. So kids would spend a week on the O sound and all of its various spellings, doing sorted and related activities, including reading text and rereading text that target the O sound. And then next week we would go to the E sound and do a week of sorted and reading and rereading on the E sound, and moving up a continuum that we call the streamlined pathway. So they would do O one week, and the next week they would do E, and the next week they would do A, moving up. And so what happens is within 12 weeks on average, they've got most of the advanced phonics they need to be able to attack most English words. And so they're not a master of everything, but they have the tools coupled with the phonemic awareness that you provided through the Blend as You Read and the Switch It activity, which we talked about here on Facebook last week in our summer shortcut series number 1. That is an ambitious goal. Not every environment is able to do it, but if you set that as your goal, then you can work backwards. And if it's Wednesday and they're not learning it, and you see them read a word and they look up at you and they see the OA and they act like they've never seen it before, then maybe you make adjustments to the rest of your day so that you can get them by Friday to know most of those O spellings. They may not be masters of them, but if they're getting more and more of them, and you'll review them next week, then you're on the right track. But if you're not aiming for that pretty high target, then you won't necessarily make the adjustments kind of aggressively and creatively across the course of your day to ensure that they're getting it. So that's one way to save a lot of time in getting them to grade level more rapidly, just by setting the bar high. And then when you are reviewing those key sentences, those mnemonics like go home to show the boat to Joe, do it with spaced review. Memory researchers have shown us what a lot of us have probably observed is at first when we're learning something, we want to do it very frequently, like maybe 3 times in one day, and then the next day 3 times. But at some point you want to not do it 2 days in a row, and then see 2 days from now, do they remember the key sentence? And then 3 days from now, do they remember the key sentence? And then 5 days from now. So you kind of spread it out. So to see if the brain is remembering that older information. And the farther back it has to go to recall something, the more it has to work to pull it out of deep memory. So that's one thing to do when you're reviewing. You've done O week 1, week 2, do a review on Monday for O, but maybe you want to wait till Wednesday or Thursday to review O again, to kind of space out the review. Another thing that can happen with Sort It, especially when we do it frequently, even if we use new word lists, they can get kind of lazy or resistant or just sluggish with the activity. So I encourage you to think about a way to challenge them to move quickly. So perhaps you can set a challenge to the whole group. Okay, we're going to read 5 words in 3 minutes. Let's see if we can all do it. I'm starting my timer. Go. Of course, you can come up with any other creative way to challenge them to do it quickly, so that they're reading a lot of words in a short time frame, and then you have time to go into your reading of real text. And then also when the kids are beside you, maybe again, instead of like taking the card away for read it, can you cover up the word bank so that they have to think, okay, what are the sounds I hear in boat? And even if they don't know which O spelling, they should see it right there in their column. After they've gone to the right column, they can still write B-O-T. All right. So, yes. Jennifer Hartley, I agree with you. She's giving Jennifer the thumbs up. So let's hear what Jennifer had to say, which was a good tip. She said, when we followed our Sort It with a decodable text, I would have them find the target sound words in the book and then add them to their Sort It sheet. Awesome. So they read a book, they summarize what it means, and then they go back and do a little word work. Slipping it back in, again, it's kind of spaced review, and they have to go back to that sorted sheet, and so they fill it in with their own words. And they could even do that with a non-decodable text, and they're reading Magic Tree House or Little Bear or Frog and Toad. They can go on a hunt, we call it Search for the Sound, where they can see what O sounds they can find and put the right O sound words in the right O sound column. So those are my tips for saving some time with Read It and Sort It for you all today. If you don't know about Sort It, here is the more information, and you can get a freebie there, just a packet of how to do the O sound. And I want everyone to be sure to get the Read It word cards, which we have a sample that are part of our Reading Simplified Academy now. And I will pull up that freebie in case you didn't catch it. And we'll be back next week with session number 3 in our summer series about how to save time for reading instruction, small group reading instruction in particular. Next week, I'm going to be talking about a dicey thing, something kind of tricky, how to save time with students' reading of new text. So you've got 4 or 5 kids, and they are all at different levels. How are you going to get them to really get the most time out of the most benefit out of that limited time that you have? How are they going to read as many words as possible, each one individually, and have it stick? That's what I'm excited to share with you next week. So this is a sample here. If you head here, the Read It cards, they're a selection of these that if you're in the Reading Simplified Academy, you get this whole PDF. And if you tagged a friend, then you'll be entered into the contest for the this collection of Read It word cards. So I hope that this was beneficial to you. I look forward to talking to you next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, from Reading Simplified on Facebook, where we share more tips about how to streamline reading instruction. And oh, Jennifer says that link works. Woohoo! Glad to hear it. And Mim's asking, yes, she was in a meeting and it will be available. So just refresh your screen in a second, Mim, and it'll be back up on the Reading Simplified Facebook page. So we keep these here for you. If you can't come up live, come check back later on our Reading Simplified page on Facebook, and you can participate even after the fact. I keep commenting, and I love to hear what you think is beneficial, and also I'd love to hear questions. So thanks for being here tonight. Good night.